Hey kids, here we go. So we're still talking about Pythagorean theorem, but this time we are going to be talking about what happens if we know one of the legs and the hypotenuse. So we're going to be calculating a missing leg. Okay, so let's recap real quick. Pythagorean theorem, please remember that we have to have a right triangle. So we have to have a right angle here. The two sides that are adjacent are called legs. So this will be a leg, this will be another leg. And now interchangeably, we can call this A and B. Doesn't matter which one we call. And then this one, this third side that's directly across from the right angle, we call the hypotenuse. And this is C. We call that C. And so the Pythagorean theorem, please remember, is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so we square the legs and then add them together, and then it equals the square of the hypotenuse. Okay, so let's go with numbers. Let's do a couple of examples, and that should be just about it. So I'm going to tell you that this leg right here is 8. I'm going to tell you that the hypotenuse is 10. And the hypotenuse is 10, and this leg is 8. So since we don't know A, we're actually going to keep that as A squared. And then plus, we now know what B is. We know that B is 8, so that's 8 squared equals, and then C is 10. So 10 squared. Okay, so remember, we always square the numbers before we do any addition or subtraction because that's what the order of operations tells us. So we have A squared plus 64 equals 100. And we need to solve for A. We need to get A all by itself. So we start by subtracting 64 from both sides. Whoa. Subtract 64 from both sides. Okay, we end up with A squared. Remember, this is a big 0 equals 36. Then remember, we take the square root of both sides. So we figure out what number times itself equals 36. And that number is 6. Which means that this leg right here is 6 units. Okay, so if this were inches, that'd be 10 inches. This would be 6 inches, whatever unit we're using. All right, now, right triangles don't always look like this. Sometimes they look like that. Okay, we still have a right angle. It's just in a different place. Okay, so the right triangle doesn't necessarily always have to be oriented the same way. So we still have our right angle. Okay, we still have our legs and our hypotenuse. Remember, this is still the hypotenuse. So this time I'm going to tell you that, let's see, this will be 10, and then this will be 26. That'll be 26. Okay. Now we don't know B. We don't know B, so this time, remember, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Our A is 10, so we've got 10 squared. Don't be afraid of the big numbers. Plus B squared equals 26 squared. Equals 26 squared. Okay, so we know that 10 squared is 100. And 10 squared is 100. And so we just need to figure out what 26 squared is. So we know that this is 100 plus B squared equals, and this is going to be 676. Okay. Now again, we need to solve. So we subtract 100 from both sides. We end up with B squared. Remember that makes a 0. So B squared equals 576. Take the square root of both sides. And then finally, so now what number times itself is 576? That number is 24. Okay. So that means that B is now 24 units, whatever units we're using. Okay, so now we know how to get a hypotenuse if we know the lengths of the two legs. We know how to calculate a leg if we know the other leg and the hypotenuse. There's going to be one more thing, so one more short video. Please stay tuned. Remember to like and subscribe.